Well, we've covered a lot of territory. We've still got a little way to go. In this next section, we'll be building on principles that we've covered already. So again, if you've got any reservations, go back and review. If not, on to MIDIville. Welcome to MIDIville. Once in MIDI mode, we have 5 pages of MIDI commands. Page 1. This is the command to assign your basic MIDI channel plus Omni on or off. Simply move the magic cursor arrow to the MIDI channel and then dial in 1 through 16, whichever MIDI channel that you'd like to use. Page 2 lets you dial up any channel key and velocity of a sample and play it without a keyboard using the playback trigger button. Choose various notes and play them back at different velocities. If you turn to page 3, you can see all the information of the last note played. Play the keyboard and you will see the actual MIDI key and its velocity level change as you play. Pretty neat, huh? Page 4. This does what it says. Lets you get your pitch wheel up or down, 12 semitones, or a whole octave. Okay, let's move to page 5. Page 5 allows you to switch control of the S-900 from MIDI on number 1 to RS-232 computer port. Okay, next we can go on and set our baud rate. Use the magic cursor arrow to select your baud rate and then dial in your number. The baud rate is the speed of communication between computers. In this case, the S-900 in a computer. Disk functions. The S-900 is equipped with a very versatile disk drive. So if you've recovered from MIDI land, let's shift into disk drive. Once into disk drive mode, you have your choice of 8 disk drive commands. Page 1. This is the function used to load a complete disk into the S-900. Page 2. Page 2 allows you to load from disk the individual program information with the corresponding samples. Page 3. Page 3 is for loading each sample individually. This function is used for creating your own performance disks from a number of factory disks. Page 4. This command allows you to save all the information from the S-900 to disk. It will format the disk automatically if it hasn't been formatted already. Page 5. Page 5 lets you save to disk either the program information or the program and the corresponding samples. Once again, use the magic cursor arrow to make your selection. On to page 6. This command lets you save the samples to disk one at a time. Page 7. Page 7 is your disk erasure function, which lets you erase either individual samples or complete programs. Make your change with the magic cursor and press enter. On to page 8. Before saving any information to the 3.5-inch double-sided, double-density disk, it must be formatted by the S-900. Simply press enter, and the S-900 will erase any previous format data on the disk and print its own. Wait about 40 seconds and be sure to watch those little dots eat up all the stuff on the screen. When the disk is formatted, the disk light will go out and you'll be ready to save information from the S-900 to disk. Okay, now that we've gone through the disk functions, let's try a practical exercise. Let's load some samples from the bass disc, then some samples from the piano disc, and make a piano and bass performance disc. Okay, first slip in the bass disc, which I've already done. Push the disk button and go to page 3. Now press the cursor button once so the B in bass is blinking. Now hit enter and the readout will say loading bass E1. Use the control knob and dial in bass C2. Press enter and the readout will say loading bass C2. You'll notice we've only used 31% of the memory. Now let's repeat the same procedure with the piano disc. Slip in the piano disc, push the disk function button, go to page 3, Move the cursor over to the sample field, and let's dial in piano G2. Press enter. It'll load piano G2. Now let's dial in piano C3. Press enter again, and it's loading. Now let's dial in piano G3. Press enter, and it's loading piano G3 into the machine. We've now loaded 5 samples into the machine and only used 62% of the memory. So we still have some room for other samples. But let's make a performance program first. Okay, number 1, push the Edit Program button. Let's call this program Rhythm Section, like I already have. Go to page 3, the key group section. Okay, let's move our cursor to the copy field and press the on or plus button 4 times to make 5 key groups. Let's go to page 5 and assign the key groups. Here we go. Key group 1 should be bass E1. Low key C1, high key B1. Key group 2 should be bass C2. The low key is C2 or MIDI note 48. Our high key is F-sharp 2, or MIDI key 54. Key group 3 is our piano G2. The low key in this case would be G2. And the high key will be B2. Key group 4 will be piano C3. Low key C3. High key F-sharp 3. And our 5th key group will be piano G3. The low key will be G3, MIDI key 67, and the high key will be C4, MIDI note 72. Okay, push the play button, and the readout should say, number 2, rhythm section. And we've got bass on the lower end of the keyboard and piano in the middle. Plus, we still have 38% left in the memory, enough to load in more samples. Now that you know how to load individual samples, you can build all sorts of new programs, and that's pretty slick. Now let me show you some more tricks to further edit any sample programs.